because if we don't stop this now, we can not only forget our republic and our freedom, but we can forget humanity because we'll be killed by this agenda.
So Anthony Fauci.
My name is Dr. Tony Fauci. I'm the director of
the man who is heading the pandemic task force, was involved in a cover-up.
He directed the cover-up. And in fact, everybody else was paid off, and paid off big time. Millions of dollars in funding from Tony Fauci's organization, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. These investigators that committed the fraud continue to this day to be paid big time by the NIAID.
And the whole world is listening to his advice for how to handle this current pandemic. How do we know that what he's saying is what we need to be learning?
What he's saying is absolute propaganda, and the same kind of propaganda that he's perpetrated to kill millions since 1984. And they'll kill millions, as they already have with their vaccines. There is no vaccine currently on the schedule for any RNA virus that works.
Do you believe that this virus was created in a laboratory?
I wouldn't use the word created, but you can't say naturally occurring.
Wealth destruction for the middle class will be enormous. This is a very difficult thing to say because I know so many people are concerned about their position in the world right now. They've worked hard perhaps for a living. They've started a business some years ago. Maybe they've been very successful or not so successful, but it's still their business. And they're concerned about what's coming. Well, what's happened this year is that the global economic system has been intentionally crushed by these technocrats who know that in order for their technocracy to operate, capitalism and free enterprise must die. The true head, represented by these technocrats, they're the ones that are manipulating politicians. Look at all the white coats standing behind the prime ministers of the world, like people like Anthony Fauci, standing behind the president when he's giving a speech, arms crossed, looking down his nose, whatever. There's one of those for every country in the world. These are the technocrats. They're using these politicians like puppets on a string. And they succumb to it every time because it's the science. You have to follow the science, don't you know? How can you say so? What, are you anti-science or what? Well, politicians aren't the brightest bulbs in the pack, but they just go right along with it.
At the conclusion of the case, and after you have heard all the evidence, we are confident that you will recommend indictments against all 6 putative figurehead defendants: Christian Drosten of Germany, Anthony Fauci of the United States, Tedros of the World Health Organization, Bill Gates, BlackRock, and Pfizer. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about a long-planned agenda of a group of ultra-rich people and their financial mafia based in the city of London and on Wall Street to use a pseudo-pandemic as the guise behind which, while our attention is on the pandemic, they want to complete their decades-long efforts to gain full and complete control over all of us. There are numerous platforms on which this group has been meeting and discussing this agenda, but the most important one is that of the World Economic Forum, which was invented in 1971 by a then 33-year-old Klaus Schwab. Its members are 1,000 global corporations with at least $5 billion in annual sales, politicians, media representatives, scientists, and other so-called high-profile personality. They meet once a year in Davos, but there are other such meetings, for example, in China. And since 1992, they have created and presented to us their own group of political leaders for the world. Among the first graduates, as I mentioned before, are Angela Merkel and Bill Gates in 1992. Others are Sebastian Kurz, up until recently Chancellor of Austria, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand, François Macron, President of France, and many, many more. This group which is now called the Davos clique, is openly, the publication The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab is one of the most important sources for this information, promoting the shifting of the world's assets to this group of super-rich people so that in 2030, ordinary people will owe nothing and be happy, as it explicitly states there, under their one world government with a digital currency given to us by their one world bank. And they're also openly promoting, in close cooperation with people like the putative defendant Bill Gates, the Rockefellers and others, the drastic reduction of the world's population and the manipulation of the remaining population's DNA all the way into transhumanism. Their most important goal is, however, the controlled, by them of course, implosion of the completely looted financial system and simultaneous introduction of a digital currency issued by one world bank controlled by them, and just as important, the introduction of a world government under the UN which has come under their full control in 2019. For this purpose, they have made concrete plans for this corona pandemic since at least the spring of 2001. Operation Dark Winter, followed by another such rehearsal, the lockstep exercise by the Rockefeller Foundation in 2010, and finally, Event 201 in October of 2019 in New York, sponsored by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, the Rockefeller Foundation, the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
We are experimenting on our fellow human beings. And out of fear, people are grasping for that, because this is what people do. When the towers are blown up on 9/11, which I can empathize with because I was supposed to be there, the people surrendered their privileges for protection. Surrendering your privileges for protection neither allows you to have privileges nor protection. The founding fathers knew that. Benjamin Franklin told the woman who asked when he came out of Philadelphia Hall, "What type of government have you provided us?" And he said, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." We're also going to hold these people criminally accountable.
Are you prepared to testify under oath here today that COVID-19 is a bioweapon?
Yes, I am. Fundamental question. If you understand that the spike protein is a gain-of-function bioweapon, why would you then replicate that same genetic sequence and put it in a vaccine? I think most people are under the impression that you get an injection in your muscle, that it stays in your muscle, right? Except that's not what happens. The studies are very clear. The lipid nanoparticle influenza vaccine made by Moderna spread to the brain, the bone marrow, the liver, the spleen, the heart, kidneys, the intestine, every part of the animal's body doesn't stay at the site of injection. These things aren't being directly injected into your cells. They're being injected into muscle, which has fluid around the cells that drains out to the rest of your body and gets into your bloodstream, where it can have some very serious consequences. Some of the research that we've recently done has looked at the Pfizer, Moderna, and Janssen vaccines and what happens when they are introduced into human blood. We need to hold the people accountable that have been responsible for doing this. They have violated the Biological Weapons Convention Treaty. They have violated the Nuremberg Code. They have violated the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. They have violated the American Medical Association Code of Ethics, which may not be a criminal act, but it's the way I thought we were kind of practicing medicine, or we're supposed to practice medicine.